everybody, I am a Dick One with a mic, and today we're going to be talking about U.S. expansion in the Progressive Era, and like World War I at some point. I don't know what the fuck that is, and who cares. But late 1800s, early 1900s is the time of U.S. imperialism. We want to get more land, which requires us to dick over more native peoples. But this time, not on our continent. We're gonna take over some fucking islands and shit, yeah. So, first off, there's Alaska, which used to be owned by the Russians. And then they were dicking over the natives, and they were having some trade and some fishing and stuff. And eventually, we were like, hey, Russia, do you want us to buy that from you? And Secretary of State Seward went like, yeah, we can do some negotiations, man. I mean, we're really liking the fucking frozen-ass tundra with fish and stuff. And Russia's like, yeah, it's pretty fucking useless territory. We'll give it to you. $7.2 million. Dollar bills. And so, we bought Alaska. Now, a lot of Congress went like, wait, why the fuck are we buying more land? This is bullshit. But eventually, we were able to, like, fish and, like, mine and, you know, trade fur, and fuck it, we even sold ice. We fucking sold ice to the Californians. See, Alaska became a pretty profitable place, and we continued to fuck over the natives like we did with basically most other places, like Hawaii. Wow. So, however, we didn't directly dick over Hawaii as the United States. No. This one's different. We had some American capitalists going over there, starting up businesses, taking over all the land, and essentially controlling the government. And then, at one point, the king who originally went like, fuck it, just let the white people have some kind of constitution, some shit. He died. Then, his sister came out and went like, hey, we're gonna get back Hawaii for the Hawaiians, bitch. And Grover Cleveland was like, oh man, I ain't gonna mess with that. Hawaii should be his own nation. American businessmen, you know, they're terrible. I don't condone that shit. But then, he got elected out of office, and, you know, the Queen of Hawaii was basically imprisoned by the businessmen running the place. And eventually, McKinley came along, and before he got assassinated or something, he went like, yes! Fuck yeah, we want Hawaii. And so we got Hawaii. Annexed. Get dicked. Woot. And we're also starting to grow up a fucking navy in the Pacific, like this guy named Mahan proposed a while back. That was a thing. Yeah. You know. But our lust for land doesn't end there. Of course, we have to have our splendid little war with Spain for Cuba and Puerto Rico and the Philippines. And so, basically, Cuba's had this, you know, revolution thing going on for a while now, and the Spanish start putting them in concentration camps, and the United States like, nah, man, you shouldn't do that shit. And then some people in the United States that are called yellow journalists start up some yellow journalism shit, and they start stoking up the tensions in the public, going like, yo, the Spanish are doing terrible fucking things in Cuba. We gotta go to war with them. Like, come on, this is obvious. It's a fight for freedom. We're gonna help out those Cuban revolutionaries, and it's gonna be fucking great. And man, come on, don't you hate Spanish people too? I just realized the statement I made in this day and age, but that's not what I meant. I meant like back then. You understand the point. End result is the Spanish also wanted to go to war with the United States, and they even attacked the U.S. Embassy in one town and went like, motherfuckers, trying to start a war with us, take away our empires. And you gotta realize, like, up to this point, the U.S. wasn't really seen as a world power. We were just seen as those guys that dicked off from Britain and then became buddy-buddies with them later, and then eventually owned, like, a bunch of North America, and then kind of almost failed a war with Britain, and then they fought themselves. So the world sees this as a bunch of fucking idiots. But this fucking forget. This is the moment where that changes. All right. So then the USS Maine gets blown up in a Cuban harbor. Oh shit, motherfucker. War is about to get started because those yellow journalists have been doing their job. And now, just like Remember the Alamo, now it's Remember the Maine, not the state, the ship. And it was a pretty terrible invasion, if we're gonna be completely honest. We basically came in wearing fucking winter weather uniforms, and then basically died from disease. It was pretty bad. But Roosevelt went in there and went like, fuck yeah, America, haha. Took out his Rough Riders and then dicked over the Spanish, rapid assault on San Juan Hill and some shit. And then we even took over Puerto Rico, and we overtook Guam. And eventually, 10 months later, the Spanish were like, alright guys, it's really time to throw in the hat. We've had a nice couple hundred years as a major colonial empire, but this is it, man. Just America. Fuck yeah. And so the Spanish surrendered. And while we didn't actually gain control over Cuba, because a senator went like, no, you can't do that. What the fuck are you doing? With the Teller Amendment, we went like, okay, we can't get that Caribbean island. We'll just take Puerto Rico instead. That's fine. That's cool. Oh, yeah, and we also have the Philippines now. And then the Philippine independents that were just fighting off the Spanish and went like, hey, the Spanish are gone. And then, wait, what? What the fuck? So, yeah, we took over for the Philippines. And so, there are a bunch of anti-imperialist people going like, why the fuck are we doing this? This is not right. We shouldn't be doing this shit. And so, you got a bunch of people arguing about why the fuck are we taking over the Philippines? Why the fuck did we just send a bunch of people over there and got them all killed and got a bunch of Filipinos killed? And then, like, why do none of these people got rights? I thought the Constitution follows the flag. And then the Supreme Court went like, no, it doesn't, bitch. Haha, I got trolled. And then, yeah, I think that's it. And then we were like, yo, we gotta civilize the peoples. That's why we're in the Philippines. Duh. Really blasting through this today. So, we also want a fucking canal in Panama, because we want to get shit from point A on the west to point B in the east and vice versa. And so, we kind of need a canal for that shit, because we don't feel like sailing all the way around South America. It's fucking bullshit. We're literally just gonna dig a canal through the fucking Isthmus of Panama. And so, we were just like, how the fuck are we gonna do this shit? And then Panama, which used to be part of Colombia, went like, we want to declare independence from Colombia. And Colombia's like, what the fuck? No! We're negotiating here. And the US was like, oh, you want to declare independence, huh? You want like liberty? What? And so they basically sent over arms, troops, men, got over there, shot some shit up, and now we can negotiate a very nice treaty with Panama to get a Panama Canal. How crazy! And we have ownership of it all the way up until a couple years ago. I think it was like a decade ago, where we gave it back. But that's in the modern times, But anyways, Roosevelt also did this thing called the Roosevelt Corollary, which said, if any nation in America can't manage its own affairs, the United States of America get to come in and intervene. Basically saying, we're fucking smart, you're fucking dumb, let's come in there and help you and put our troops everywhere on the fucking map. It's like Risk, but we own everything. Haha. And basically, most of the objections to all of this expanding and imperialism and shit from the anti-imperialists are like, why the fuck are we doing this for money? You're fucking terrible, stop it. And then all the other peoples were like, but freedom and capitalism, duh, why wouldn't we do this? Get tricked. Also, around this time, Russia's been trying to expand some territory, China's been getting dicked over by itself, and Japan went like, we want some of that land. And so Japan and Russia are in a war. And then Japan goes to the US and goes like, psst, 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 psst. Hey, if you mediate some peace between us, you're gonna look pretty fucking good. And Roosevelt's like, yes, I will be the peace mediator. That is my own independent thought. That is what I wanted to do this entire time. And so he basically strong-armed both of the nations into a peace agreement. which she got awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for. How fucking amazing. Pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. Oh, but after this, Japan got pissed off at the United States because the United States is racist. We've been racist forever. We even wrote a Chinese Exclusion Act, and now we're being racist against the Japanese, and the Japanese are like, hey, stop that. And the United States was like, but like, why are so many of your people over here? Get the fuck out. And so we got into a gentleman's agreement where we went like, okay, we're not gonna officially be racist, and you're gonna stop sending people over to the United States. And both of those things happen. Were we so racist to the Japanese and literally every other race that wasn't white? Heck, even other Eastern Europeans? Yes, because that was the United States at the time. Get used to it. And we also built a great white fleet of 16 battleships painted in pure white and sent it around Asia on basically a show of power. Yeah. Like, look how big this fleet is. You can fill in the blanks for yourself. And so, okay, almost at World War I. But at some later point, Woodrow Wilson becomes president after Taft and Wilson. After Taft and Roosevelt. Roosevelt was a guy who was like, we're gonna do big stick diplomacy. And Taft was like, we're gonna do dollar diplomacy. As in, we're gonna throw money at things and hope we get money back. And it's gonna be great. But then Wilson's like, no, we have to take the high ground. We have to take the high ground, Anakin. I have the high ground. Okay, but he was basically like, we just gotta be good people. And so he was like, yo, man, JP Morgan, you can't be giving out railroad loans to China. What the fuck are you doing? Although the end result of that was China didn't get railroads, which kind of made it easy for Japan to go invade Manchuria later on, before the Second World War, but we'll cover that later. And he also went like, yeah, me, my boy William Jennings Bryan, we want independence for the Philippines. And Congress was like, yes, sure, okay. And then Wilson's like, great, when's it gonna happen? We didn't put it anywhere in our legislation when it would happen, so like, I don't know, after World War II. Although the most difficult thing for Wilson to take the high ground on was Mexico, because he really wanted Mexico just to become democratic by itself. He didn't really want to go in and be like, freedom. He just kind of wanted it to do it by itself. But eventually you got shit like Venustiano Carranza and Pancho Villa going in revolutions against Huerta, the dictator he didn't acknowledge. But then Pancho Villa broke up with Carranza and started raiding the U.S. And Wilson's like, oh shit, fuck, Pershing, yes sir, go kill that motherfucker, yes sir. And so Pershing tried to kill Pancho Villa. He failed. But, I mean, he got combat experience and shit. And we also couldn't really stay out of Latin America, because, like, we had troops in Haiti and Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic until, like, the 30s. So, we're pretty bad at staying out of things, because we're America. Fuck yeah, coming again to save the motherfucking day out. So, and now we're finally at the Great War, where all the Europeans went to war over the assassinations of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir apparent to the throne of the Austria-Hungarian Empire. And so, blah, 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 Great War, mustard gas, artillery, Battle of the Somme. I mean, you've seen this shit before. You've seen the trenches with the mud, the rats, and the shitty food. And Wilson's like, I thank God for many things, including the Atlantic Ocean, because we didn't want to go to war. But eventually, since we were trading so much with the belligerents, Britain and France, and JP Morgan was like lending out shit, and the Germans started shooting down passenger ships, with American citizens on those passenger ships, with their U-boats, it was kind of hard for us to, go to war in somewhere that we had no right to be in. But eventually, we were like, well, kinda should go to war. And also, by the way, Wilson's wife died, and then he married somebody else. Just in case you wanted to know. And eventually, the British government intercepts a Zimmermann telegram where the Germans tell Mexico, hey, invade America for us. Help us out. And then America really starts to get triggered. And so, finally, April 2nd, 1917, Wilson's like, yeah, alright, let's go to war. And so, we got a lot of support and opposition. One of the first female congresswoman... No shit, the congresswoman is female. I'm stupid. So, the first congresswoman was like, nah. And she'd be the only one to vote nah against World War II later. And also, we made a propaganda committee called the Committee on Public Information, which basically was propaganda, using facts. We decided what facts to give the people and what facts not to give to the people. It's literally fake news. It's amazing. And anyway, and also this guy named Herbert Hoover was the head of the Food Administration, being like, don't waste your food, save it so we can send it over to the boys on the front lines, guys, come on. And also, we made another Sedition Act, which made it illegal to be a dick towards the United States. And, people continued to, criticize the United States. And also, all the German people in the United States slowly changed all their German things to be less German so that they wouldn't be lynched. Yeah. Jane Addams, remember that person? Settlement house movement, whole house, that shit, opposed the war, but she was supportive of the, not wasting food thing. And the IWW and the Socialist Party all got jailed like half the time because, there's filthy socialists. And Eugene Debs went like, guys, who's fighting the battles? The fucking working man. And who declares the wars? The ruling class. Can't you see they're all just using you as bodies to throw at each other? And then he got arrested. General shit. So John J. Pershing, general, takes over an American expeditionary force over to Europe. Start going in. And while Russia takes off, we come in and we're like, alright, boys, we're gonna fight till the end of this. And so, we take massive casualties. And Germany did too. However, after Germany's last offensive, where they got 30 miles within Paris, they basically died. So, we had peace talks, and we tried to make a Treaty of Versailles, which basically was just Britain and France being like, we want revenge against Germany for doing all of these terrible things to us. And Wilson's like, but no, League of Nations and peace among nations. And all of the other colonies that Britain and France had called upon, all the other combatants in the fight, kind of knocked on the door of the negotiations. And Wilson, Clemenceau, and the British guy poked out their heads, and then everybody else went like, hey, we fought in the war too. Can we be part of the negotiations? And the three of them collectively said, how about you go fuck yourself? And closed the door. And so, while Germany got basically fucked over with a bunch of reparations having to be paid, and all their colonies taken away, Wilson did get his League of Nations. But the Senate went like, we're not going to join this League of Nations. That's fucking stupid. Get me out of here. So, yeah. Oh, and by the way, Wilson was basing all this on this 14 points thing that you should totally look up. Yeah. And so, at the end of World War I, Everybody thinks war is fucking shitty. Germany's in shambles. France is in shambles. Britain's in mostly shambles. United States is about to go into the roaring 20s. And well, the world is a different place. Come join me next time for more shit posting or something.